Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. As you guys are probably aware, Taylor Swift recently dropped her 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl, and I've had about a day to marinate on it. I also had a half marathon this morning, which meant I was definitely listening to some of the songs, definitely not all of them, because not all of them are racing music. But I thought I would kind of give my initial reaction. This is going to be a more just like talking style video, just kind of going through the track list and giving you guys my opinions. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to think or have to say about this track list. What songs do you love? What songs do you hate? I feel like I've seen so much controversy recently over specific tracks or just like the project in general, whether people really love it and are fighting for it, or honestly, moreover, I'm seeing a lot of people saying they hate it. So I'd love to kind of go through the track list. So I'm just gonna go in order, although I will say the first three tracks, like, I think are really, really great track run, probably the best in this album. We start with The Fate of Ophelia. I actually just saw the music video because I went to the album release party yesterday. Although this is not about director Taylor. So The Fate of Ophelia, I felt, was a really great first track. We open up with a very poppy moment. It feels very much like we are kind of picking up where we left off from Tortured Poets, in the sense of like we're being saved from the fate of Ophelia, whereas we kind of ended Tortured Poets on a bit of a tortured note, if you will. So she's being saved. It's a lot more poppy. I think it sets a really great tone for the album. I think it's less of a pop banger, if you will, than a song like Opalite, but I also don't think we need to open with the song that's probably going to be this album, Shake It Off. So overall, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the lyricism on this as well as the production. Again, I do think it's very poppy. Yeah, I heard you calling on the megaphone. You want to see me all alone. As legend has it, you are quite the pyro. You light the match to watch it blow. And if you'd never come for me, I might have drowned in the melancholy. I swore my loyalty to me, myself, and I, right before you lit my sky up. All that time I sat alone in my tower. And then we go into the chorus, or we already went into the chorus. So that first verse, I do particularly, what stands out to me is I might have drowned in the melancholy. Like, again, that does feel like kind of a callback to Tortured Poets. I think I was a little bit confused as to who she is trying to talk to on this part, I guess, because I think at face value it sounds like Travis saving her from, the Maddie Healy thing or whatever, but I honestly partially saw like maybe she's talking to herself, like, I don't know. So I do really enjoy this, though. I think we have a really great mixing of Shakespearean kind of language as well as kind of more modern language, such as I keep where is it? I keep it 100 on the land, the sea, and something or other. I sat alone in my tower. She loves her towers. Again, like, obvious callback to freaking Tortured Poet. She's always in a tower. Yeah, I enjoyed the song a lot. I think it's very catchy, and I do really like the concepts for the music video. I don't know when I'm putting this out, but it's a really interesting video if you guys haven't seen it. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go on to the next song, which is going to be Elizabeth Taylor, which honestly might be my favorite song on the album. We start very somber, a bit mysterious, and we're talking about Elizabeth Taylor, but we're also combining that story with kind of Taylor's own experiences, and I think that's pretty obvious in here because there are some, specific callbacks to that character, but there are also a lot of lines that obviously refer to Taylor Swift. I really love the chorus on this. I think it hits really hard. It feels like a ready for it in a more modern version. It kind of is giving me, like, in the best way possible, like a psychotic breakdown after like someone wrongs you, or like that, lighting someone's stuff on fire after they cheat on you or something. Like, that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this, but like definitely in a good way and not in like a cringy way. I do think there are a lot of points on this album where she comes off cringy, but I don't think this is one of them. And we get some really crafty lyrics here. But number one, but I never had two. Be the NY when Hollywood hates me. Love that one. I love the Hollywood hates me. Like the production on that one part. You're only as hot as your last hit, baby. I saw Anthony Fantano talk about how that's super Lana Del Rey, and I feel like I haven't been able to forget that because it's so true. But I definitely don't think this song is something Lana Del Rey would sing. I just think the concept of, being a celebrity and kind of the Americana of it all is definitely up her alley. So yeah, I don't know. I really like this song. I love the chorus. I think it's definitely a hit, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. There's not too many really short songs on this album. Actually, Romantic is a little bit short other than that. So let's go on to Opalite. I talked about this a little bit earlier. I definitely think this is kind of the shake it off of this album, or the August, if you will. I guess kind of single potential. If this wasn't the second single, I'd be a little bit surprised. And I, again, do think this is kind of at face value about a lover, but this was the one where I was more like, I feel like this could very much be also perceived as like talking to herself, because she kind of phrases it in certain ways. Specifically the line, she was in her phone and you were just a pose, don't we try to love. Like, I felt like that could be talking about like she was in the phone, like, I guess, like, kind of, you're talking about a showgirl, modern day showgirl online versus like, what are you, whatever. I don't know if I'm like, I haven't seen anyone interpret it that way. It's just me. Of course, I used to live with ghosts, we get it. Maddie Healy's horrible. And I really liked the line, when you know, and when you don't, because it feels so obvious, but also I do think people think when you don't know, you will know that you don't know. And it's like, no, like, when you don't know, you don't, whatever. So I really enjoyed that line. I think the chorus is particularly infectious. Really enjoy it. It's super danceable. I've seen a lot of people say it kind of sounds a little Christmassy because of those bells in the background. I definitely agree with that. I think I was a little bit worried about the bridge when she starts singing love, love. Like, it was kind of giving me Lover. I was worried she was about to do like a spelling is fun kind of thing. Not that I hate Lover, but I don't want a spelling is fun kind of thing. But again, lines like, you had to make your own sunshine, like, that definitely felt a little bit like, are we talking about a lover? Are we talking about ourselves here? I also really love the opening line. My brother used to call it eating out of the trash. I thought that was really funny. I was definitely laughing about that. So overall, again, the first three tracks, a really strong track run. Father Figure is definitely one that I see being a sleeper hit. People are definitely talking about it, but I see this one fading a little bit with time. But I really enjoy it. I think the storytelling here is really good. This is kind of the first one where I'm getting a full-fledged storytelling. We get a little bit of that on The Fate of Ophelia, but I do think that is a little more complicated because we are pulling from her experience and, a lot of metaphors, versus this kind of feels like a concrete, like, I'm telling you a story about this thing that happened. And I felt like it was really interesting because everyone was saying Olivia Rodrigo, and that was, of course, my first thought on it as well, but I just do not think that she hates Olivia Rodrigo that much to kind of make a jab at her like this. I felt like it could be a little bit about Olivia Rodrigo, but I'm more seeing it being an amalgamation of different experiences. Like, I could see her talking about her relationship with Scooter Braun or Scott Borchetta, but she's telling it from their perspective. Or I could see it being about multiple different proteges she's had past, because Olivia Rodrigo is definitely not the only one. And while that was a little more of a public scandal, if you will, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes with her and these different younger and up-and-coming artists. And so I definitely see her now being more of our main character in the song, but I also definitely think she's pulling from experiences she's had in the past of being the protege to, again, maybe Scooter Braun, but maybe other older artists. We talk about Stevie Nicks or whatever. And I'm not saying that these people are horrible people. I'm just kind of hypothesizing, if you will, about where the inspiration for this could be coming from, because I really just don't think it's just all about Olivia Rodrigo, because first of all, in my opinion, that situation did not paint Taylor in a great light. And from the public information, I was like, girl, you're a billionaire, stop. And I just don't think, again, she would make a shot like this at Olivia. But again, I really love the storytelling on this. I think it's really interesting. I did not love talking about her dick being bigger in a song about Father figure, I just didn't love it. But I think that's just a personal thing. Like, I think it's a really creative line. But when I was thinking about father figure at the beginning, I was like thinking about father figures. And then she said dick. And I was like, okay, never mind. That's weird. So, but I definitely get what she's saying. And I think it's a really interesting way to say it. This album, she seems particularly interested in that sort of thing. So, but I think it paints a really great picture. I think there's really great imagery in the song. And overall, first 4 songs, very satisfied. Eldest Daughter. This is probably my least favorite song. I don't know. I don't think there's any other song that I dislike this much productionally. I think it's very boring, and I think this is where we start getting some cringe. I don't want to hear memes in a Taylor Swift song. I know we love a sad track 5. I don't think this is hitting super hard, and I think at this point I was getting a little bit frustrated because I see the showgirlness within this, but some of it just feels like a lot of love songs, which I'm super happy with, but it's been marketed as more of like a look behind the curtain. And I guess this song paired with some of the other love songs we had heard in the first 5 tracks, like I think a song like Father Figure, super showgirl. I think Elizabeth Taylor, absolutely, but I think the others, even the Fate of Ophelia, we get a little bit of that, but I think we are getting a lot of love songs, and I think with this, it was a little bit complicated. I didn't love the metaphors. I didn't love the overuse of, I think, modern jargon. Like, I just don't love how she delivers bad bitch and savage, and it all made me think of is Ariana Grande, who just did it so well. Let's just let her do that really well. And I don't know, like, again, I'm a Swiftie. Like, I'm not a Taylor hater, but I also want to be objective when kind of analyzing this body of work, and I just don't think this is her bag for sad songs. And this isn't particularly sad. Like, it ends up being kind of a love song. But it's kind of everywhere. We talk about the breaking the arm and the trampoline. Like, where did that come from? I see how she's tying it in, but I just think this is definitely not my favorite song. I think the production makes it a little bit boring. I love a piano ballad from Taylor, but I think we could have gone a different direction with this than kind of talking about how the internet is cold as ice. I've been afflicted by a terminal uniqueness. That's feels a little bit withdrawn from society. But I've been dying just from trying to seem cool. And I will say this, across the album, I think there's a lot of rhymes that I wouldn't expect from a Taylor Swift song. And that sounds a bit picky, but it really hit me, of course, in the last song. But even something like that, I was like, I don't know. And maybe, again, it's been a day. Maybe I'll love this later, but right now I am not loving Eldest Daughter. I don't think it's what we thought it was going to be. I would have loved to hear more of a perspective on more general things that eldest daughters go through, and maybe more of a folklorian take on this. Like, I don't feel like this really was giving me a sad piano ballad. Because again, if we're talking about Taylor Swift sad piano ballads, we're talking about Evermore and Folklore for the majority of it, obviously Tortured Poets, but I don't think she was going there in terms of breakup songs, which that was more like breakup song-esque. So if we're talking about sad songs, I think we really need to pull from her bag, her strong suits, and we see those on Folklore, and I just think this would have never been on Folklore. Ruin the Friendship. So again, this 2-track run is not my favorite. I think it's fine. It's cute. It feels like a worse song from Fearless. And obviously that's because it's high school. I think in the beginning I was a little bit apprehensive, like, why, like, but your girlfriend was away, you should have kissed you anyway. And, I heard her on the, release party. If you guys heard that part, she kind of talks about like how this isn't necessarily autobiographical, it's more telling a story and talking about how, like, in high school everything feels so intense, but it's really not. But personally, like, I agree with that sentiment. I don't think that means that we should be kissing other girlfriends' mans. Maybe that's just me, that's just my opinion on that. But I do think the production for this is cute. And not like in a condescending way, more just like, I think it's high school. I think it fits. I think it's nice. And I think, the overall kind of high school-esseness of it, like, she does do this well. But again, you think about songs like Betty, you think about songs like Love Story. it's not even love story. You Belong With Me is a better example of that. And obviously that's super long ago, but it's hard for me not to compare it to that, because when I think about Taylor high school songs, I think about songs like those. It's hard. It's not comparable. It's not at that level. And I think that's part of the reason why it fell flat for me, because I was like, I'd rather be listening to Betty. I'd rather be listening to You Belong With Me. All right. Now we get into the diva, actually romantic. Now, I want to start this off by saying, like, as many of you can probably sympathize, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So I'm going to start with the fact that I think if I didn't know the context of this, I feel like in a couple months people are going to kind of like this song. I could see this being a TikTok sound. It's hard to talk about the song without talking about the beef. It's hard. I think both of them are in the wrong, probably. I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I wouldn't appreciate people talking about me. I wouldn't appreciate people writing songs about me. But I also don't write songs, so I can't really relate to that. So I really don't want to say anything on the beef. I love Charlie. Like, and I understand that people are flawed. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to continue to love both of them. All right? Let me rock and I'll let you rock. I think it's funny. I think it is kind of relatable, just in the sense of, I feel like everyone's had that moment where you realize someone's kind of talking about you or whatever, and you're like, who is this person? I don't even know who you are. I haven't listened, I haven't talked to you in a super long time, and you cannot keep my name out of your mouth. And I guess that's kind of where I was coming from with this. And again, this isn't anything to say with Charlie. I'm just talking about the song right now. I have no idea what's going on there. Don't ask me. Again, I'll let you rock. You let me rock. Love both of them. But again, from just a lyric standpoint and from a productional standpoint and whatnot, I do think she goes a little bit crazy with this one. But I do love Crazy Taylor, and I do like the concept of this song just in the sense of, like, again, people kind of talking about you when you just don't think about them and you're just living your life. And I think everyone's kind of experienced that, especially in the rise of the internet. It is impossible to be perfect. So I did not enjoy the beginnings of Horny Taylor. Not Horny Taylor, but like pushing the limit with that. And it feels wrong because I love it when Tate does it. I love it when Sabrina does it. So I'm like, what is it with Taylor? Like, is it the delivery? Is it because she's a millennial? Like, I can't figure it out. But I did think it was funny, and it might just be like recency. Maybe in a week or two, I'll be able to kind of be like, okay, like I'm used to this now, but it's so new, hearing her kind of talk about some of this stuff. But overall, I think it's good. I think the issue with the song is the implications behind it in society. I haven't seen a ton of people saying it sucks. I've seen a lot of people talking about the situation. So I think it's good. I think it's better than Eldest Daughter for sure. I personally think it's better than Ruin the Friendship. But it's definitely not better than that burst 4-track run, which so good. Wishlist, okay, this was surprising because a lot of people loved the song off the bat. I didn't love it off the bat. I'm starting to like it a little bit more, but I feel like at this point, okay, I feel like I'm about to be a hater. Now, I don't want to be a hater, but I was like, I want more Showgirl. And I guess this is Showgirl because she's talking about how she wants what I guess like normal people, if you will, want, and how normal people kind of want to be famous and kind of how that's inverse. So like, okay, I see it that way. I just think it's hard to not think about Travis when she's talking about kids and the whole block looking like you. I'm like, girl, get up on your good foot. Like, let's get up. That being said, I do think the production's interesting. I like the arpeggio, not arpeggio, what the fuck am I talking about? The, accent on like, wish, list. I really enjoy that. And I do think the chorus is catchy, and I do like some of the lines, when we tell the world to leave us alone, and they do, like, I did think that was interesting, and kind of painting this picture of like, what does this alternate universe look like? I think that's interesting. I just think at this point in my listening, I had wanted less of Travis. And that's not because I don't like them. I want her to be happy. I just think it was a lot at once on this album, as you guys can probably sympathize with. But yeah, overall, I mean, nothing to write home about on Wishlist. Again, I'm pretty lukewarm on it. Speaking of Travis, Wood. All right. I really like the production for this. Again, Jackson 5, Moment 100%. And you know what? I feel like the first time I heard this, I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And now I'm just letting her rock. You know what? I'm going to let her rock. I'm not going to think about it that much because, again, we're letting all the other girls do it. All the other girls are out there being horny. She can do it too. You know, that's none of my business. I think it's fun. I want to let the girl have her fun. And I think it's catchy. Like, sorry, sue me. It's catchy. All right, guys. And you know what? Get your mind out of the gutter. Maybe she really likes trees. Like, we just don't know. And we're never going to know. And I do think it's clever. There's a lot of clever parts. There are a lot that aren't very clever. New Heights of Manhood. That's not clever. That's just gross. that's just unnecessary. Let's talk about it. Yeah, I think I'm still getting used to Taylor kind of being this open about this kind of stuff, but I'm trying to, because again, I had to ask myself, like, if this was Sabrina Carpenter, I'd be grooving along. I was grooving to Tears, Dance Break, absolutely. So I'm gonna let her cook on this one. I'm gonna say I liked that one. I would have liked it more if there was less allusions to you know what. But overall it was groovy, it was fun. Whatever, it's, you know, I thought it was a fun time, and especially after kind of a little bit of a lull, I would say, for me in the track list. Not that Actually Romantic wasn't really interesting. This one definitely picked up the pace. And now we get into Canceled. I feel like this, like, 3 or 4 track run is just, like, chaos. It's pure chaos. People really hate this song. Let's talk about it. People are hating this song. People think it's worst Taylor Swift song ever made. That's what people are saying. I've seen people saying the production sucks. I've seen people saying it's really out of touch. The first listen, guys, I can't lie to you. I liked it first listen. But I think when I heard people talking about it, I saw the issues they were kind of talking about. It definitely, like, lyrically could be taken really wrong. And again, I don't want to, like, put my 2 cents in on kind of where that's at, you know. But I think the beat for the chorus is very overused. And I think that's, like, I heard it for the first time and I was grooving, but I think part of it was, like, it's very familiar. It's like a Disney villain theme song. And one thing about me, I love a Disney villain theme song. I love a cheesy villain theme song. You know what I was listening to on my race this morning? I'll Make a Man Out of You. That's not a villain theme song, but it's Disney. So I think people are going to try and cancel her for this song. I think we could have been a lot more creative with our take. That's what I'm going to say. I think we could have been a lot more creative with how we addressed this issue, because I think it's interesting. I think there's a way this could have been addressed, because I do think a lot of cancellation is super, super overdone and can ruin people's lives completely. But there are definitely people out there who have done things to constitute that reaction. And there are people who haven't and who get that reaction. So it's more complicated. And I do think it comes off a little bit out of touch. I think there could have been a way to attack this a little bit better. That being said, this is another song where I feel like in 2 or 3 months, people are going to like it a lot more. But alas, I did enjoy it first listen. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. My music taste sucks. Speaking of songs I didn't love first listen, Honey, I think it was just the first line. I was like, okay. Again, at this point, I was like, I think it's catchy, but I think it's not the most creative thing I've ever heard. And at this point, I was kind of sick of the love songs. And again, this is first listen, you know, give me a little bit of a break on that. But I don't think it's the most creative thing I've ever heard. And I was a little sick of the love songs. And it's very repetitive in I mean, the chorus obviously repeats itself, but I think the verses are very similar. And I don't have a lot to say about the song. I do like the production. I really like the production. I think it was the lyrics that took me out of it. I didn't love what it was about. I just felt like, charted territory on this album. And at this point, I wanted more songs like Elizabeth Taylor. And you could say you get that with Canceled, but then like, you like Canceled, everyone else doesn't like it. And again, then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, okay. That's none of my business. That's not my business. Life of a Showgirl featuring Sabrina Carpenter. Can I just say, this is one of the only features on a Taylor Swift album where I feel like I can hear the other person. Like, let's talk about it. Y'all remember Lana Del Rey, Snow on the Beach? Anyway, first part immediately took me out. I was like, I could have written this rhyme. That being said, I do like the musical theater aspect of this. This one really felt musical theater. I love the bridge. I do really like the duet with Sabrina. I feel like Sabrina adds a lot to it. She's got that little country twang going on, which I do think adds a lot of dimension to this song. Yeah, no, overall, I did enjoy this song. I thought it was a really nice way to end the album. I really like the outro of this song as well. I couldn't figure out if that was like actual audio from the Eras Tour. I don't think it was, but I was kind of hoping it was, because I thought that'd be really cool. And I think it tells, we bring back the showgirlness, if you will, of the album. And we kind of talk about, I guess, a hypothetical scenario, because Taylor said that obviously this person isn't real, but her own rise to power if this was something that happened, and how showgirls become each other, and how, you could get a moment to see behind the curtain and that person's like, no, you don't want this. That being said, yeah, I like this song. It's catchy, and I thought it was a nice way to end the album. Okay, so overall thoughts on this album. Is it as good as she hyped it up to be? No, it's not. I think I was expecting the wrong stuff. It's very much giving more Reputation than anything else. I think you could say Reputation, Midnights, and maybe a sprinkling of a couple other things in there. I love the first 4 tracks. I think those are definitely, honestly, probably my favorite. I think we go, like, the track list doesn't have like a lull. It just goes down, if you will. That doesn't mean I don't like the later tracks, though. I was just talking about, I liked the Life of a Showgirl a lot. I thought the production on Honey was good. I thought Wood was kind of fun to, bang out too. And then I think our run from like 5 to 8 is a little bit interesting. I think for the amount of bulletproof pop she was hyping it up to be, I would have loved 5 through 8 to have another like Opalite, or especially again Elizabeth Taylor, like give us something a little bit more nuanced and interesting. I felt like it, and again, Actually Romantic is interesting. Like, I have a hard time not saying that, and Wishlist does have like an interesting premise. I just like wasn't the most behind that song, I guess, but it was a nice like break from 5 through 7, which I feel like 5 to 6 I didn't love. 7 was interesting, and then we get Wishlist. Yeah, so I really need to marinate with this album right now. But those are kind of my initial thoughts. But what do you guys think about this album? Again, super controversial on the internet right now, so I don't know what you guys are going to think about my reaction, but would love to hear your favorite and least favorite songs in the comments. And if you guys have any questions about any of my thoughts, I'd be happy to chat it up in the comments. Just remember to be respectful of everyone's opinions, if there's anyone down there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.